Now we're getting in an update as far as the Jallikattu issue is concerned. The Supreme Court is to hear a plea of the Centre and the Animal Welfare Board on Monday. In fact, PETA, the Animal Welfare Board and several other NGOs have now challenged the new act passed by the Tamil Nadu, and that has been sent for the President's assent after the Governor passed it. In fact, the plea challenges the act on the ground that it is per se cruel to animals, and the act is going to be violative of animal rights. Anusha Soni joins us for more on this. Anusha, this was expected, isn't it? In fact, when we have been speaking to lawyers in the Supreme Court, they said that passing an act to amend, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act is violative of the basic animal rights on which the act is based on.
That's true, Vantika. I mean, let's put it into perspective. Yesterday, Attorney General informed the bench led by Justice Deepak Mishra that the centre is going to withdraw the 2016 notification under which Jallikattu was allowed. It was given, an exemption to be held. The judgment, the order was reserved on it. So clearly, the centre was trying to make the case infructuous at the Supreme Court. Today, Animal Welfare Board, PETA and many other NGOs have come forward to the Supreme Court and said that the new law which has been promulgated and passed to allow the practice to allow the festival of Jallikattu is violative, it's repugnant, and it is per se cruel to the animals. Now, we must understand that while the centre and the state government have all the legitimate authority to go ahead and pass laws, there are certain basic laws which are enshrined in the Constitution, and one of them is compassion and protection to the animals. Now, whenever a government decides to give, those principles a go by, there has to be a reason, there has to be a rationale for doing that. And that's the point of law that they're challenging, that the centre and the state did not have a reason to do what they did, and they merely did it under the political pressure.
Now, tell me something. Does the state's Jallikattu Act permanently revoke the ban on Jallikattu as well? I mean, how does the passage of the bill affect this particular act?
Speaking of law right now, in the state of Tamil Nadu, the Jallikattu, to hold the practice of Jallikattu is legal. Yes, there is a repugnancy in law because the 1960 Act of the centre still has bull as a protected category. The 1960 Act is still not in sync with the law of the state of Tamil Nadu, but it has a precedent assent. So at some point in the near future, the centre will have to go ahead and amend the 1960 Act.
Which means also to remove the bull from the Act. I mean, bull as the animal from the Act.
Well, if they are not removing bull permanently, they will have to give the reasonable exception to the state of Tamil Nadu. Right now, an exception has been given, but a reason for that exception has yet not been given. And that reason will now have to be part of the 1960 Act. So whenever you give a state or a certain territory an exemption from the law of the centre, you will have to specify it in the Act. Why are you doing that? And then the argument snowballs that if you can allow it for one state, for one animal, why can't you allow it for other states and for other animals?
Absolutely.
So these are larger questions that the centre will have to answer to the Supreme Court, and clearly it's going to be one, a huge hearing for the centre, because this has been a huge political issue and also a mass social movement that we have seen in the state of Tamil Nadu.
Absolutely. Very interesting bit of news coming in there. Anusha Soni, thanks so much for joining us. In fact, with the Jallikattu movement in Tamil Nadu emerging victorious, now similar demands are being raised in different parts of the country. The most prominent is the chorus intensifying in the state of Karnataka to have Kambala, which is a buffalo racing sport, to be legalized. Taking a clear cue out of Tamil Nadu, the Chief Minister of the state has even hinted at an ordinance, even as protests are planned across the state.
It was massive people's movement. Tamil people rising as one to save what they called an intrinsic part of their culture. And now, inspired by the success of the Jallikattu movement, it's the Kannadigas raising a demand for Kambala.
This is something which is pride for us, and this is something culturally we related since my childhood, and we definitely can't let go of it all of a sudden.
The argument is the same.
We want this native culture native cultural act to continue.
But unlike the Jallikattu movement, it's the political class taking up the cause in Karnataka. The Congress youth wing and a Kannada group have planned demonstrations and buns, while an MLA from the ruling Congress is even courting arrest.
See, for the sake of public, I'm ready to go jail also.
Following Tamil Nadu's example, the Chief Minister of Karnataka has promised an ordinance to lift the ban on buffalo racing if required.
We are for Kamala. It is a traditional game. It has to be continued. We are for it.
Cultural animal sports seems to be acting as the political unifier, with even arch rivals since inception, the BJP and Congress striking a concordant note. As expected, the legislation of Jallikattu has opened the floodgates. The chorus for Kambala, although the most prominent, is not the only one, raising the question, is the sidestepping of judicial bans through legislative orders a dangerous precedent? With Nolan Pinto and Rohini Swami, Bureau Report, India Today.